arguing for the affirmative side is the Lyceum of the Philippines University. From the institution inspired by truth and fortitude, Lyceum of the Philippines University. Kim Angery Aguilera pursued law to fulfill her grandfather's dream. Also a theater actress and a dancer, Kim admits she loves being the center of attention. Christopher John Bertuccio is a self-confessed bookworm. His passion for reading led him to the legal profession. Lauren Ann de la Paz is sweet and strong-willed. Aside from her passion for debating, Lauren also loves dogs and baking. Team Lyceum of the Philippines University. Perseverance, dedication, glory. Taking on the negative side is the FEU-DLSU. From the union of two institutions, the next generation lawyers of FEU-DLSU. Adelpha Feb Villar believes that her athletic background gives her an edge. Quick-witted and strong, Feb has always had a thirst for victory. Mark Dean Iperalde is passionate about two things, land and law. Mark is currently a senior associate at a real estate firm. Though busy with work, he still manages to excel in law school. A trained and spirited swimmer, Giselle Gaudiel lives for competition. She believes that perseverance and strength of character are keys to overcoming the challenges in life. Team FEU-DLSU. Strong, diligent, united. Now let's meet our distinguished judges. First off, we have attorney Simonette Pulido of Zamora, Poblador, Vasquez, and Bretania. Next, we have CVC Law Partner attorney Franchette Acosta. And our chief adjudicator for this evening, Judge Mervin Samadan of the Municipal Circuit Trial Court of Alcala and Bautista in Pangasinan. He's also the acting judge of the Municipal Trial Court of Angono, Rizal. The word war begins when Square Off, the CVC Law Debates returns. Please stay tuned. Using a modified Oregon-Oxford format. The debate is between two sides, the affirmative and negative, with 3 members each. Each debater from the affirmative side argues either the necessity, beneficiality, or practicability of the proposition, while the counterpart debaters on the negative side oppose these arguments. Each debater is given 4 minutes to deliver a constructive speech and rebut the previous argument. Each debater is given 2 minutes to interpolate or to cross-examine the opposing debater. Only categorical questions may be asked. Each of the 3 judges may ask 1 question of each speaker within that speaker's time limit. The chief judge rules in the event of ties, objections, or contestations. The judges' total scores determine the best speaker and the winning team. Tonight's proposition, let it be resolved that the non-disclosure of assets in the SALED constitutes an impeachable offense. Starting off for the affirmative side is Kim Aguilera. Kim, you have 4 minutes to argue why the non-disclosure of assets in the SALED needs to be considered an impeachable offense.
Good evening, honorable judges. Good evening, fellow speakers. It is our stand that non-disclosure of assets should be deemed an impeachable offense. Corruption has long been the cancer of our nation. We rank 52nd out of 183 in the most corrupt countries. Considering this then now, there is a need to ensure accountability among our public officials. The Statements of Assets and Liabilities, or SALN, demands full disclosure in order to be effective means of minimizing corruption and ensuring accountability among public officers, leading to good governance. There is no question that the law or SALN had already been strictly applied to unimpeachable officers through Section 9 of Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act and Section 11 of RA 6713. However, impeachable officers could not be charged with the same offense because of the ruling in the case of Inreg Gonzalez, stating that impeachable officers cannot be criminally charged for offenses carrying the penalties of disqualification from office or removal from office unless he ceased to be in office. Hence the need to adopt our proposal to ensure that impeachable officers will comply with the SALN law. To clarify, it must be stressed that our motion pertains to the failure to disclose even a single asset in the SALN and not disclosure attended by miscomputation or miscalculation. As our first argument, the Philippine Constitution deems non-disclosure as an impeachable offense. Culpable violation of the Constitution is an intentional act that is contrary to the supreme law of the land. The Constitution expressly mandates that all public officials and employees shall declare their assets and liabilities under oath. It is a mandatory provision based on the language of the law. While the term betrayal of public trust has no precise definition, Commissioner De Los Reyes, who was responsible for inserting it, clarifies that it refers to all acts which makes the officer not fit for his position. Thus then, a person who knowingly and purposely did not disclose his bank accounts in his SALN deemed contributed to the culture of concealment and deception, thus making him unfit to continue in office. Thus, he is being dishonest. As to our second argument, if the public officers of lower rank had already been made liable for non-disclosure, then the same legal yardstick must be also equally and forcefully applied to impeachable officers. If an interpreter in the case of Rave versus Flores, BIR director in the case of Flores versus Montemayor, city treasurer in the case of Carabeo versus CA, were removed from office simply because they did not disclose their assets in the SALN, we do not see the reason why the impeachable officers could not also be held liable. Thus, this is in accordance with fairness and equal applicability of the law that we must enforce the same law, in which the only way to make them liable is through making non-disclosure of asset as an impeachable offense, which simply cannot afford unimpeachable officers to go unpunished. In which case now, we are simply pointing out that at the end of the day, we cannot really ensure that public officers are being accountable, such as the impeachable officers, if we do not adopt this proposal. Thus, the need to adopt our motion.
All right, thank you. Giselle, 2 minutes now to cross-examine Kim.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Would you agree to me that that those impeachable officers they have a different regard, or they have a different standard to be followed as compared to just an ordinary public officer?
The question is too vague, Ms. Speaker.
Just a yes or a no. Do you agree with me that both impeachable officers and those non-impeachable officers are following the same standard
Or following the same standards? Yes, Ms. Speaker.
Then you would be agreeing with us also that the removal of an ordinary public officer would also be the same as to the removal of an impeachable officer?
No, Ms. Speaker.
So with that, do you agree that the non-disclosure of an asset is not so grave that these impeachable officers should not be removed?
No.
Do you agree with me that public office is a public trust?
Yes, precisely, Ms. Speaker.
Do you agree with me that the mere non-disclosure of an asset is a result of negligence